Once the winter temperatures set in, panic buying starts in the South because we're not used to these temperatures. There's images where there's so much shortage in grocery stores in Texas and in the Arkansas area. And of course, it's moving as the storm moves. What are some ways that you could be prepared to make sure that you have everything you need? And then we're going to discuss a little bit more about the California wildfires. The thing is, no matter how they started, the amount of wind that is blowing right now makes it where the fire may not be attainable. The question is, what's next? We're going to dive in again to insurance and how are these people just going to be without? Is this like a new reset for California, not only in politics, but in real estate? We'll discuss that a little bit. Also, we're going to discuss when Biden started in 21, what and how much money we had to what we have now in the bank. Not only did we see a major influx of debt, we'll talk about the cash on hand. What did I tell you? They want to destroy Trump and they're willing to do it by taking all the money. We'll discuss exactly how much money we don't have in our treasury. And is that a risk, especially with the new administration coming in? And then lastly, again, with these fires going on, you would think that Biden would just be there to help. So when he decided to fly in to the area, it shut down other air traffic that was going around that's trying to put the blazes out. Not only that, he says, we're here for the people of California. At the same time, instead of giving money to North Carolina or California, they sent another $500 million to Ukraine. That's just what we needed. $500 million to Ukraine when all this is going wrong in America. Let's dive into these stories and a few more. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please, right there's a subscribe button. Please push subscribe if you like the content. Give us a thumbs up. It does help us. We humbly ask that you do that. It helps us spread our message across this platform. And again, remember, when you comment, when you subscribe, we see that in our analytics. You're entered into a giveaway on this channel, but also the other two channels, the Max Life, my wife's channel, and the new channel, Life with Colby Mac. That video, 9th series, should be coming out today, vlog-wise. If not today, tomorrow. And you'll see a little bit more about our farm. Now let's jump into today's video. First, let's jump into the fact of these wildfires. They're taking over. A few things. Now, you remember we talked yesterday about how insurance is starting to pull out of California. They started pulling out just weeks before this fire, which is kind of unique. So the question is, all these multi-million-dollar homes, all these huge investments, not only that, what about the mortgages? Because a lot of these places are not paid for, you know that. What happens? Is that going to tank the economy? Now, the thing about California's market has been inflated for a long time. And the two things you need to pay attention to is this. If this is a reset for this leftist agenda and what's been pushed and how bad it's done for California with the water situation, the insurance situation, the fact that people can't afford just to live, it costs too much to cost of living, every bit of that is wrong. So hopefully through all this, the bad, they'll find the reason to get rid of this liberal ideology in California. Secondly, it's almost like a reset. We get to the point where we see all these places burning down. I mean, did you see there was like 5 or 6 more fires just start last night? And what it is there's so much wind and so uncontrolled burn. And no matter how it started, I mean, I know there's conspiracies about how it started, where did it go from here, blah, 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 blah. The bottom line is it's burning and they can't stop it. The wind right now you can see the planes struggling to fly in these areas. And the question is, if they can't put it out, how far will this go? And is this going to reset the economy? And that's not a good thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. California is inflated. California has a lot of issues. But the amount of loss and also the amount of bank crisis that could go along with this and the hit of the economy, I mean, it could be detrimental for this whole region. And actually, remember, California, as much as we don't like it, is a monster economy and pulls in tons and tons and tons of money for America. So is this going to be a chain reaction to bad policy when it comes to the cost of this? They said this could be the absolute biggest cost to the continental USA, especially for fires. But they said it could be one of the biggest continental costs ever in America. Now, all of a sudden, you hear that there are going to be denied claims with insurance. I mean, that's things to think about and how that could impact all of us. Because remember, State Farm, or all these other companies that's over there that's got to quote-unquote pay these claims or either go in lawsuits, they're also the same provider that provides for other parts of America. So if there's an insurance problem over there, guess what? You're going to feel the adjustment on this side too. Wrong or right, that's what's going to happen. You know it and I know it. Now, you would think that this administration would try to do more, but instead, people are literally blaming Donald Trump for this. Now remember, California has been under Democratic rule for years. I mean, even since Schwarzenegger. Now, Schwarzenegger really wasn't a Republican. I mean, but to be honest with you, other than Reagan, it's pretty much been under a Democrat liberal agenda. Donald Trump said in an interview with Joe Rogan just weeks ago about how the problem with California wildfires can be resolved if you go back and look at the water reservoir issues and how they're not filling the water reservoirs and how they're not taking care of the forest. Now, there's been people push back like, oh, that wouldn't have solved this. It sure would have helped if you'd had some water. It sure would have helped if you could have got some of that dead debris and some of that reforestation that needed to be the cleansing of the forest. And what I mean by that is, in our area, we do control birds. I live in a pine area, so you'll see a lot of people that will control burn. Even state and national parks here will do control burns all the time. And what they're doing is controlling so they can know where the fire is supposed to go, cleaning underbrush, making sure they have lanes right, so it will not take over and ruin the whole economy of this area when it comes to wood. When do you think they could learn from that? Well, two things happened. Biden decided to fly in and just kind of see the damage for himself. He's just flying. He's making sure everything's taken care of. Well, what that does is when he flies anywhere close, it grounds a lot of flights. There's been a lot of word that's saying, well, you know, we have wind issues that we're not flying, and all of a sudden when a dignitary or president comes in, what it does is shuts down the fly zones. So therefore, it kind of hurt the movement of it. Also, if you look at how these planes are dropping water and dropping this fire retardant, it's so windy that it's actually not doing anything. The wind is literally catching on new fires. So are they going to be able to literally contain the fire? I don't think so for a long time. The best thing would be for rain, major rains, major tropical movement, because even though they're close to the ocean, it's literally burning to pieces in these areas. It's sad, but a few things are going to come out of it. Either you're going to see a regime change in California, which needs to happen. You're going to see a massive crisis when it comes to finances, because either the insurance is going to pull out, people are going to default on their homes, people can't pay their taxes, or either they can't rebuild in these areas because of the cost of living. So you're going to see a major reset happen. And then the question is that going to make a chain reaction for America? You know what else Biden did? He's helping. He is helping. He said he wants to help North Carolina, and help North Carolina. He wants to help California the same way. You know what he did? You would think he would give this money to North Carolina and California, but he just signed another $500 million to Ukraine just yesterday. Made a huge announcement that while he was watching America burn and get flooded in certain areas, Ukraine needs our money. And remember, we're paying for Ukraine's pensions, their government workers, their teachers, their retirements, their quote-unquote government assistance like their Social Security. But we give $700 to families in North Carolina and Hawaii. And now we'll probably do the same thing. Multi-million-dollar homes in California burning down. No one can stop it. And FEMA will step in, though, and they'll give them about $500, $700, and that will go a long way. It's just unbelievable. Now, let's take it in a spiritual context, too. I mean, it's almost apocalyptic. Have you seen like the Hollywood Hills sign starting to burn all the way around it? It's kind of scary to see the fact of this uncontrollable inferno. Now, things like this you can't help as a prepper. I mean, there's nothing you could really do. But I guess it goes back to the fact of sometimes moving, sometimes getting away from dangerous areas may be for the best. When you know water's a problem and you know that your government's a problem, then I challenge you all you can, please try to move, because things like this you can't control. Now, let's move along to another part of America that's dealing with the same kind of panic and problems as the cold weather. Texas is not used to that. Well, there's another report that shows that there's panic buying happening and there's major shortages in the stores like Walmart and other places, other grocers. They showed pictures of buggies and cars lined up just to try to get the propane and get the food that they're needing. Why do we talk about prepping? Because it's insurance. You know, you're sitting in a prepper's pantry. Now, I hate to take you and turn you around in here, but there's food everywhere. And right behind that, this is freeze-dried food. This is food that's going to be on the shelf for 25 and 30 years. There's buckets of all kinds of other foods. Now, this is just a portion. Now, below that was even 2 generators. Why do we have that? Why do we do that? So we're not in the stores during panic buying season. That same store that's coming to Texas is coming here. I mean, it's 26 outside right now. That's cold for us, but it's supposed to get even colder. Now, the thing is, that's stress to go stand in those lines and then all of a sudden realize there's no food that you're needing to purchase. So when we talk about prepping, we talk about taking care of it. Things like California, I mean, it's apocalyptic. You really can't do anything about other than move. But when we talk about prepping and taking care of yourself, bug out may have been one of the things that you needed if you lived in California right now. Texas, it may be propane heaters, it may be freeze-dried foods, it may be putting up foods that's going to last a long time. It may be generators. It may be other forms of cooking because you may lose power. But the panic buying causes stress, and all of a sudden now the stress is on the enforcement. The enforcement now is causing problems because they're trying to almost, it's not martial law, don't get me wrong, but they're trying to funnel people into these stores, and then there's buggy lines of people trying to buy stuff. And it's sad to see. I mean, when you step back and you say, okay, I'm seeing California burn, people living in tents in North Carolina, and people panic buying in Texas. That's almost biblical. I mean, that's almost scary. And that's where I kind of caution Trump as he's coming into office. Don't focus so much on Panama Canal and Greenland and Canada as much as focus on your people. That's one thing that the Democrats lost out on, is focusing on its people. Again, they could have handled the problems in California better if they would have learned how to do what Trump was saying just months ago about making sure they're filling up their reservoirs. So a lot of this, even though some of it we can't help, some of it we can. You can't prep for everything, but you can prep for a lot. And if you can be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% better each and every day, each and every week, each and every month, then you will be more prepared than if all of a sudden something like this takes place. You're either ready to bug out or you've got your supplies to hunker down. So make sure that you are doing all that you can, because look, the government's there. They're going to help you. I mean, that $500-700 will go a long ways, won't it? No. What is happening is your insurance companies are letting you down. North Carolina is still charging property tax to its people. Biden said he's helping, and all he's doing is giving more money to Ukraine. So what that means is all these ableness, all these times of government help is actually not assisting you any. And what they're doing is they're making you just so vulnerable and so longing for help that whatever they give you at some point in time, you'll be happy with. Instead of, if you just built independence and built a way to make sure that you have these avenues of safety, you could bug out, hunker down, have the stuff that you need, you wouldn't be affected by some of the things that are going on. So pay attention to these stories. They're pretty big, because what happens is while we're distracted with this fire, while we're distracted with this flood, while we're distracted with this panic buying, our money is still depleting. I mean, Ukraine is getting $500 million and we're paying for more goods. Not only that, I want to bring up another story about money when it comes to Biden. There's a story by Wall Street Map that says when Biden came into office in January of 21, listen to this, the cash of the U.S. Treasury bank account was $1.6 trillion. So when Trump left office, even after the craziness with 2020, there was $1.6 trillion in cash to utilize. Now, let's fast forward. It has been reduced to $600 billion, and that's all they have left. Now you think, well, $600 billion, that's a lot of money. It is, but when we're running at a $1.4 trillion deficit a year, and the fact that we're not stopping spending, and we're giving $500 million just yesterday, and that's not counting the natural disasters that are taking place, $600 billion is nothing, is a drop in the bucket. So with a $8.4 trillion debt added in the last 4 years, and reduced cash on hand by $1 trillion, that means the Biden administration spent over $9.4 trillion. Okay, now so let's put that in terms that we would understand. That's like you making $100 today, and you're willing to spend $250 today. So then you go borrow the money, and so now you have $250 to pay the debt of whatever you're wanting to purchase. And then all of a sudden you decide to go get another credit card and spend a lot on that credit card, saying one day you'll pay it back. So not only do you not have the cash anymore of $100, you borrowed extra money to pay a bill to make it $250, so you borrowed from the bank. And then you went and got a credit card to buy more purchases that you didn't even need, to then turn around and put yourself with no cash, a lot of extra debt, and then also debt that's going to be reoccurring because you didn't have the money to pay for it in the first place. That's exactly what the Biden administration did. They had money, they blew the money, they turned around and borrowed more money to then turn around and spend more money that was above the borrowed money that put us in a deficit. When you put that in perspective, you cannot tell me this has been a successful presidency, and you cannot tell me that we're better off from 21 having Biden in control. Weak leadership made for hard times. And what we're doing is we're seeing what weak leadership, California, even some of the North Carolina situations, compared to Florida. Look at Florida and how the hurricanes, yes, they have damage, but DeSantis was on top of it. He was prepared. Trust me, I was in Florida when those hurricanes come through. Literally. I went through them. And he had roads cleaned up. Power was already restored because he had people on the ground ready. North Carolina, they can't even get people out of tents, and they're still billing people property tax. Democrats in leadership. California could have filled the reservoirs. They were told to fill the reservoirs, and they chose not to fill the reservoirs. Democrats in leadership. Weak leadership makes for hard times. Pay attention to these stories, because weak leadership is making hard times for you. It doesn't make hard times for Gavin Newsom. It doesn't make hard times for Biden. It doesn't make hard times for some of these other leaders. It makes hard times for you. So that's what I always tell you. You have to prepare and get your own insurance, which is prepping goods and making sure that you are independent, because they are not going to be there to take care of you and help you. Now, we just lost a ton of money for Trump to walk into. Is that really what we want? No. So that shows they're already setting him up to fail, because they've taken over $1 trillion of money that he put up in surplus is gone, and then spend another $8.4 trillion to the deficit. It's mind-blowing. Now, all this is going on. All this is going on. All this is going on. Guess what else just happens? While you were distracted, Biden did say that he is looking at doing preemptive pardons. Now, this was big words, and I told you, preemptive pardons would not happen until just days before his election is over, before the inauguration takes place. So that way, when he leaves office, that money and that power will keep on rolling in because of the preemptive pardons. On the list, Liz Cheney, all of the JSIC committee, but also Fauci. He's wanting to preemptive pardon all that group. Now, remember, he's already given clemency and pardons to all these criminals. He's already given pardons to his son that's like an indefinite pardon for a decade. And all of a sudden, preemptive pardons. So while our focus has been on everything else, watch. Fauci's going to get a pass. He'll never stand for anything dealing with what he did in 2020 or any in his past. And he is the highest paid retired elected official, because when he left office, he was making more than anyone else in the administration. And not only that, did you know he gets some retainers off some of that stuff that he actually formulated? It's crazy, isn't it? While we're distracted, what actually is happening? He's getting pardoned. Now, let's wrap it up. There's a lot going on. 2025 has started off absolutely nuts. The talk of expansion, talk of all this other stuff, I would love to see Trump just get in and say, look, we're going to take a breather. You know, I tell my wife sometimes we get going through Christmas, I just at January, I'm like, because you spend money, you're going, you're running, you're going to these holiday things, you're going to these Christmas things, you're doing all this stuff. You spend crazy. It's all good. But when it comes down to it, you're like, I just need a breather. I just need to take a moment. In January, we kind of do that. I think we need to do the same thing in the government. We need to say, look, we're going to just cut spending. We're going to quit giving money out like candy to all these governments. We're going to quit talking about expanding. We're going to quit talking about anything else, and we're going to get our house in order. We're going to close our borders. We're going to make sure that we're giving funds and help to California, to North Carolina, to Hawaii, to Texas, if all of a sudden the storm is like they're saying it's going to be. We help the people of America. It's not about stimulating. It's about cutting their taxes, just like North Carolina trying to charge property tax for houses not even there. Take that away. That's the kind of stuff that we should be doing. And Trump would say, you know what, instead of paying the pensions and the government doles and the retirements of all the people in Ukraine, we're going to help fund some of those property taxes in North Carolina. We're going to go and help the situation because there's going to be a major crisis in California when these insurance claims starts coming in. That is what real leadership looks like. Weak leadership makes hard times. Hard times either helps us prepare, gets us better, or makes us bitter. And we had an opportunity to make it better by electing Trump. Now the question is it going to get better or are we going to get more bitter? So our nation has a chance right now. Do we see a reset in the right way to make things better, to get out of deficits, to start making surplus again? Or are we going to get more bitter and see the fall of the true American way? That's for really, I think, us to decide, not our leaders. So you want to be better? That comes down to you and your household. No one's coming to look out for you. So make sure you're doing all you can to protect yourself and protect your families. When you start doing that, you're going to impact other people to do the same thing. And then we build such an independence, we won't need government's intervention. We won't need them to step in because then we'll build a community that's stronger than ever. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Again, I think there's distractions happening. There's emergencies happening, almost apocalyptic. But the thing is this. If we will do all we can to prepare and to be ready for anything, then that doesn't mean we can solve it all, but that means we will have a better head on our shoulders as we go forth through either bugging out to hunkering down to being prepared and having what we need. Thank you for watching, guys. Pray for our nation. It needs it. Pray for the people in California. Pray for the people in North Carolina. And don't forget Hawaii. And, of course, the storm coming through Texas. God is still God. And if we pray, we can heal our nation. It just takes us being faithful. Thank you for watching. God bless.